What's up, everybody? We're back here messing around with the 120-gallon crystal shrimp tank. Hopefully by now you've been introduced to this aquarium and are kind of familiar with it. I've made a few videos about it, so hopefully you kind of know what's going on. Today I'm here to answer the question, what happens when the plants get extremely overgrown? As you can see here, the Rotala Macrandra is way overgrown. It's up to the top of the water. It's leaning off to the side in the flow. It's completely overgrown. Now, a lot of people out there would just trim this off and leave it right where you trim it. That's not going to be a good idea here with the aquascape that we have going on, because I'm going to have to trim the tops off, replant those, then I'm going to pull the stems out and place them into the sump and allow them to sprout down there. Now, some propagation from this Rotala is going to happen in the future, so stay tuned for that. Probably a month from now, I'll be setting up a new grow out aquarium and show you guys how to do that. But for now, let's stick with getting this trimmed and moving it to the area that I want it to, because this section right here is not really that favorable to have all this bright red in this zone of the tank. Plus, I'm going to be building up the hardscape in here. I've got some rock and wood features that I'm going to be adding probably next week. And so I just kind of want to show you guys the process here of trimming it and replanting it so that you can have an idea of what to do on your end if this happens to you. You know, first thing, we got to figure out which of this is doing really well. You know, got a little bit of algae going in here, mainly just because there's so much light hitting everything that's this high up. So what we're going to do is we're going to locate either where it's splitting right here, or where we end up having some aerial roots, which those are just basically right below where you want to trim for replanting. So you can do this with your fingers if you like, or you can use some cool scissors like I got here, which I got off of Amazon. And if you really are interested in these scissors, you can pop onto the community tab and the links are right there. These are really handy scissors because they don't have like a real wide opening like a lot of scissors do, which makes it a lot easier kind of locate where they're at. A lot of time I will put my finger on the back side of the stem, like kind of right where I want to trim it. And with longer scissors, I have a tendency to sometimes cut my finger. So these actually work out really well just to cut the stem too. You can use like some big scissors from the junk drawer in your house, but I don't necessarily recommend that. I accidentally did cut a fish once, which is insane to even think that could possibly happen, but I was using some really big scissors and cutting you know, just a whole bunch of stem plants like really quickly. There was a fish in there, which is a real drag. But so I don't do that anymore. Lesson learned, right? But we'll go ahead and get all these cut. And we're clearly going to have a lot to replant, which is sort of a good thing. It's also kind of a time-consuming thing, but you know, as I'm often told by people on the internet, these are problems that they wish they had. So I'm not complaining, I'm just saying it's gonna take some time, which is why this has grown up so tall. Every time I think to do it, I go, oh man, that's gonna take too long. I don't have time. So I end up like doing a water change or something else instead, which, you know, that's beneficial too. built a new reactor for this aquarium, and definitely the CO2 levels have leveled out to where we want them to be. Which, if you're testing out there, you want to be shooting for 40 parts per million is really the goal, which is only 10% of what's in the air we breathe. So all right, here comes the big messy part where I go ahead and pull all of the plants out from down below. Whoa. All right, so we've got that all cleared out. I moved a couple of rocks, and I realized that I'm gonna have to add a little bit of aqua soil back here. This is a fluval stratum. In my opinion, it's the most cost-effective one on the market. The volume you get and just how well it works. I don't think it's necessarily the best, but I think it's certainly the most cost-effective in the U.S. You know, might be different for y'all out wherever part of the world you're in, but I find it to be the most cost-effective one around. I'm gonna fill in just a little extra soil here in the back just to make it easier on me to plant, because I'm getting old these days. Might as well make it easier on myself. So we got our little Macrandra plant here, Rotala Macrandra. It grows nice and red when the CO2 is up, and definitely appreciate it, but it fills in like crazy, so you have to kind of be a little sparing with this plant. Like, you don't want tons of it. Seems like a pretty subtle move just to be moving it over here, but it is really gonna make this look a lot better. I'm sticking it right in front of the Pogostemon here, and a little bit in front of this Bacopa, and it should be pretty, help give us a little better depth to this tank. I realized that most people are like, man, 120 gallon tank, that's pretty big. But this honestly was starting to look like a 40 gallon breeder or something. I mean, it was just looking was lacking depth. So we can definitely do something about that with Escape. So I shall continue. Alright, so that seems like enough stems. It's not even a half probably of what we pulled out, but the rest will stick in the sump and let it grow in the sump. And yeah, I think that'll do it for today in this project. How I wish you would. Thank you for tuning in today and checking out this little aquascaping video. Very much appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe, the like, the join, the Patreon, the links, all the stuff. You know what I'm saying. It really helps out, and we'll keep making more content like this or better. Making statements. Fact. All right, later.